Hey everybody, we are back. We are on chapter 3 of Working with the Law by Raymond Holliwell. Chapter 3 is Law of Supply. And just really quick here is if you're just jumping into this, make sure you kind of go back, watch the introduction, chapter 1, chapter 2 to kind of get caught up. Just because Raymond Holliwell he's really setting a tone with the book, and he's kind of sharing information slowly and explaining information slowly and connecting it slowly. So he's not just diving in very advanced. So make sure if you just jumped in, go back and watch the introduction, then kind of follow the chapters. But right now we're on chapter 3, Law of Supply. So let's get rocking and rolling. Don't want to be long-winded on this. And let's go. The Law of Supply. He gives a verse right off on every single chapter. Ask, and it shall be given to you. Seek, and you shall find. Knock, and it shall be open unto you. Matthew chapter 7, verse 7. We'll discuss this verse a little bit along the way, and let's get rocking. Man is never satisfied. This fact is deplored by many, but God did not intend that man should be forever satisfied. Because here we're talking about the law of supply. Okay, and he'll dig deeper on what he means, but we're talking about the law of supply, we're talking about abundance here. The law of his being is perpetual increase, progress, and growth. So when one good is realized, another desire for a greater good will develop. And when a higher state is reached, another and more glorious state will unfold his vision and urge him on and on. Hence, the advancing life is the true life, the life that God intended man to live. And really what he means by this, really what he means by the law of supply, and one of the meanings, we're slowly going through this, is the law of if I could talk, seem like my lips are kind of sticking together, perpetual increase, the progress and growth, meaning like once we get to one level, we're always going to seek the greater good. We're always going to want more. And I don't mean more in material ways. I mean, we're always going to want to self-improve. We're always going to want more. We're always going to want to be at a higher level. Now, I know your mind's going to go toward materialistic, collecting more things, buying more things. He's not talking about a materialistic lifestyle. He's really just talking about personal growth. Because remember here, energy is never stagnant. We're either growing or dying. I know we've heard this before, is that energy is never stagnant. Energy is always in motion. Okay, that's where we get the phrases, we're either moving forward or we're moving backwards. So that's really what he means here by increase and progress and growth, is we're always getting better. We're always going through personal growth. If we hit a goal, we're always just natural want to hit another goal, a more bigger goal, because it's our natural being to grow and get better. The law of good is universal. For are we not all seeking good in some form or another? Science and logic alike declare that the universe is filled with essential substance for every imaginable good that man can imagine, and that he is entitled to a full and ever-increasing supply of any and every good he may need or desire. We believe, therefore, that it is right and good for man to seek to gratify all pure desires and ambitions. This is what I just kind of stated. It's like as we're growing, we want more good in our life. We want to go to a higher level. And he's not talking about, what you notice here, he's not talking about being materialistic. He's not talking about keeping up with the Joneses. He's not talking about, my neighbor has a bigger house, so I want a bigger house than them. He's not talking about that. He's talking about a higher consciousness. He's talking about abundance is inside you. So he's talking about that type of good. I mean, he's kind of splitting. He's kind of talking about indirectly. He's talking about energy, because energy, we're either growing or dying. We're either moving forwards or we're moving backwards, because energy never stays stagnant again. Here is the key to the law as Jesus gave it. I love this. Here is the key to the law as Jesus gave it. So now he's kind of jumping into the New Testament. He's jumping into the Bible. What things soever ye desire, when when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. I'll say that one more time. And then he explains it. What things soever ye desire, when ye pray, believe that ye receive them, and ye shall have them. It's kind of a tongue twister there. Every person, consciously or unconsciously, is operating this law in one or more of its phases. It works universally in every plane of life's expression. We are all daily drawing into our lives the things we most desire and expect. Whether we attract good things or bad things, the principle operated is the same. So, remember from like chapter 1, chapter 2, remember, the law works on the same plane. Remember, we either attract good or bad. It doesn't matter. The law works. Good and bad are on the same level plane. Okay, we either kind of attract good or we don't attract bad. The law doesn't matter. The subconscious mind, again, don't care. You know what I mean? Because it's just, the subconscious mind is just giving you as is. It's just giving you where your attention goes, and that's what it's giving you, no matter good or bad. But as we want more of the good things in life and less of the bad, it will be necessary to understand the law more perfectly, and so be able to adapt our thinking to it in a more direct fashion. Thus, we secure the greater benefits that accrue from the conscious, intelligent use of its power. So like in the beginning of this, I don't know what color I have this on. Let me turn it over to green. He kind of brings up a good point here, consciously or unconsciously. So kind of what he's saying here is that, either we're aware of it or we're not. Either we're aware of how the law works or we're not aware of it. It doesn't really matter if we're aware of it or not aware of it, but it's going to work either way. And it's going to work for our good or to our disadvantage or to our bad. We affirm repeatedly that God is our supply. And if we would think for a moment and trace our supply back to its source, we would agree that this statement is true. The difficulty with some is that they can more easily look to creature for the source of their substance than to the creator. We don't really believe that God is the source of our substance. We try to think it's true, and we may theoretically accept it, but there is an uncertainty. It is hard for some to believe in something they do not see. It is so much easier to believe in what we see. Now, if we can see plenty all about us, we are willing to believe it and enjoy it. But later, as we are able to believe in abundance of good, we shall then see it and enjoy it. Now, when I read this, my mind kind of really drifted off into, when we talk about manifesting in general, when we talk about law of attraction, law of assumption, no matter what we talk about, just manifesting in general, is that you're manifesting your core beliefs. Okay, you're manifesting the secret you. You're manifesting the secret beliefs that you tell yourself secretly. You don't tell other people. So when we first get involved with manifesting, when we first get involved with law of attraction, law of assumption, no matter what we want to call it, we conceptually understand the beliefs. We conceptually understand that our thoughts attract like for like. We conceptually understand that. We conceptually understand that our imagination creates reality. What we focus on, that we're going to attract to us. We kind of understand the idea, okay? And we can even debate with people and have conversations with people, and it looks like we really understand it deeply, but we really don't. There's a small little voice in us that still don't believe it. Still kind of like, well, I gotta see it before I believe it. Remember, it's kind of reversed, as if we develop from the inside out. So there's that still little voice, that still little gut, not even a gut feeling, because it's a deep embedded belief that you still don't really believe it. And that's what's really manifesting to you, is those deep beliefs. And that's what Holliwell is explaining here, but he's kind of explaining it and talking about God. Thus, at the outset of this question, which comes first, seeing or believing? As we study the facts, we shall learn that the later comes first. And the law is founded on our belief, which in turn determines our sight. So now he's really kind of coming down to the point is what's more important to you? Okay, seeing it or believing it? I have to see it first. That's how most people live their lives. I got to see it first. I got to see it in my objective world. I got to see it in my 3D world. Okay, before I'm going to believe you, or before I'm going to believe all this humbo jumbo, manifesting stuff. I got to see it happen before I'm going to totally believe it. But it's actually reverse. It's about believing. You have to believe first, not see. It's almost like you walk by faith, not by sight. That scripture. My mom kind of has it pinned up here, so it kind of jumps in my brain here for a second. If you walk by faith, not by sight. When you kind of dissect that verse, is another word for faith is belief. So walk by belief, not by sight. Okay, it's the same thing. Even the Bible saying it's belief first. It's not seeing. You have to believe. Okay, and then when you talk about manifesting, talk about success, you have to believe it first. You got to believe you can have the lifestyle first before it will actually manifest into your visible world. I remember in the purple is an example. All his examples in this chapter are fantastic. So let's kind of dive into this. People at one time believed in magic. Once they thought material things could appear right out of thin air, from nothing and from nowhere. They also believed that things could be made to disappear into nothing. Science has long since refuted this idea and proven such magic to be impossible. Except when it is done through some trick in chemistry, a sleight hand of an optical illusion. Nothing can ever become something, nor can something ever become nothing. Substance can be converted, transmuted, and changed in a million ways, but it can never be destroyed. For example, if we plant an acorn in the soil, it will sprout forth a tree. Each year, the tree will bring forth leaves in the spring and shed them in the fall. The leaves drop to the earth and become a part of the fertile soil. The tree leaves for 100 years, dies, falls to the earth, and decays. This decomposed timber slowly becomes part of the earth and is hardened into peat and coal. The coal is mined and brought into the home as fuel. Here it is consumed with fire and burned into ashes, and the heat units thrown off are used to warm the home. The ashes again cast upon the earth, supplying food to the soil, which finally nurtures another seed and causes it to sprout forth and become, in time, another great tree. This is really the law of nature. Following the cycle of the substance of the tree, we find it changing form many times. We see it giving off gases, heat units, chemicals of many kinds, and yet, if it were possible to be measured accurately, we would find that not one tiny part has been lost. All the supply there ever was, still is, and ever shall be, for nothing can ever be wasted or lost. There can never be a shortage of supply. So now, I love this example because you're kind of reading the example and you kind of think to yourself, where's Holliwell going with this? But he's using such a simple example of the laws of nature, of the tree, and in the beginning how the tree, as the tree grows in the fall, the leaves fall to the earth, then the leaves decay. When the leaves decay, that's food for the soil. So there's so through all this process, nothing is wasted. There's a purpose to it. And then when he wraps up the example, he kind of connects it to the law of supply. All supply there ever was, still is, and ever shall be, for nothing can be wasted or lost. There can never be a shortage of supply. And I'll put this in another way. He's saying there can never be a shortage of supply, but there can never be a shortage of abundance for you or abundance for me. There's never a shortage. When we grow up, and sometimes we're not really taught this as a little child, but as we grow up, we kind of just learn it, learn it through media. We kind of adopt it. I don't know where it comes from or where in life we kind of brought it upon us, but we kind of think supply is limited. We think abundance is limited. We think that we think that, abundance is only for the lucky. Okay, but the supply is for everybody. Supply, there's always supply. There's always plenty. There's always plenty of abundance. And that's what we have to start to digest in our mind is there's always abundance. Okay, there's never gonna be a lack of abundance in your life. Okay, let's say, for example, you want to buy a house, you want to buy a dream house, and you don't need to rush into buying your dream house because your dream house will always be there. There's always going to be abundance. Okay, there's always going to be abundance for you. Because some people do not see abundance around them and do not enjoy plenty is evidence that they do not understand or do not apply the law. Okay, it's funny because this is what we've just been talking about, abundance. And even though I read this chapter, I actually took a couple of days off. I read the chapter, highlighted it, I took a couple of days off, and now when I came back to do this video, I didn't reread the chapter. So I didn't even know this paragraph was coming up. So I'm just kind of saying my thoughts, but it's kind of amazing here. I really want you to listen to this because it is so powerful. Because some people do not see abundance. Okay, listen to it. Even this could be you, because you do not see abundance around yourself and do not enjoy plenty is evidence that you do not understand and you do not apply the law. Okay, the laws of the universe are exact. It's an exact science. Either what Holliwell said before, either you consciously know this or you're unconsciously unaware of it, but it's still going to work for your favor or not. In their blindness, they say that plenty does not exist. And so far as they can see, but they're trying to see with sight again, they're seeing in their 3D world, they may be right. But when they learn to see with their mind's eye, they realize differently. Okay, now he's kind of going deeper here, is that he's kind of saying, okay, no matter what's going on in your 3D world, okay, in your present world, you might be surrounded by poverty. But once you know the law, once you understand the law of supply, once you really understand that abundance is all around you, that's your belief. Okay, remember, it's inside, it works from the inside out. So no matter if you're surrounded by poverty, your mind is of abundance. And even if you go into, and I'll put a link down below, even if you read The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace Wattles, he really states this. It's really to really master your mind. Mind mastery is really understanding the laws. Mind mastery is really like when you actually see in your eyes, when you see unhealthy people all around you, your mind is of health. When you see poverty all around you, you see abundance within your mind. See, it works from the inside out. Okay, because you understand the law. Okay, you understand the laws of the universe. You understand the laws of the mind. You understand how things work. And then he goes on and says, in green here, there is a phase of the law known as demand and supply. Now he's kind of dissecting the law of supply here. This is a phase of the law known as demand and supply. Then he goes into the example in purple, which is found in every department of life. Years ago, Thomas Edison resorted to its use when he invented the first electric light. When his carbon lamp was brought to the people as a new kind of lighting, far superior to any method then known, at that time, did they readily accept it. So they didn't accept it. When he actually invented the light, the electric light, nobody accepted it. They still wanted to live by candlelight. Many thought it was ridiculous and too expensive. They were using candles, oil lamps, and small percentage of gas lamps. Such light was plenty good enough, hence quite some time elapsed before the public was educated to the advantages of electricity over the old ways of light, heat, and power. Not until the people were convinced of its advantages of this new power did they invest in its future, build powerhouses, set up pools, and string wires all over town to factories and homes. How was all this accomplished? When there was a demand for the need of the electric power, the supply was forthcoming. Where did it all come from? Out of the earth, out of the air, from water power, stream power, gas, oil, and 1,001 other sources. It comes directly from nature, whose foresight created these materials in the earth. Once our forefathers were in style when they rode the stage, a hack or a carriage. It has not been so long since one was the talk of the town if he owned a fast team of horses and a rubber-tired Victoria or gig. Where are they now? Where are they now? Gone and almost forgotten. The automobile has supplanted them. How did it all happen? When people demanded a means of traveling with more speed, greater comfort, and luxury, necessity gave man an idea. He thought of building a horseless carriage. He worked on the plan, slowly developed it, and slowly educated the public to accept the modern mode of transportation. One outstanding man dreamed of a world rolling on wheels and set out to build a car that the poor man could afford. Today, the automobile has become such an important factor in man's life that we wonder how he could have ever progressed without it. You see, whenever man has needed a certain thing in life, an idea has been first given him in mind. I'll highlight this, kind of where I'm at, and I'll read it again to you. You see, whenever man has needed a certain thing in life, an idea has been first given him in mind. He was inspired to develop the idea and then materialize it by converting a piece of mud and metal into a usable form. Why did people live so long content with the horse and carriage and not enjoy the automobile? Because they could not imagine it. Their minds were not trained to demand such a thing. Was the supply available to build such a machine? There was as much supply at hand then as now. In fact, the supply has always been there since the beginning. Thus, it was not God's fault that the auto was late to coming to man's need. It was man's fault because he had been so long realizing the need. In this example, this is kind of strong here. Thus, it was not God's fault. Okay, because we kind of have a habit when something happens, something's not happening fast enough. Maybe we didn't manifest our intention, and we blame God. We've all kind of done this at some point in our life. That we blame God, we blame another entity, we blame another person. That it's their fault why something didn't happen in our lives. So thus, it was not God's fault that the automobile was so late in coming to man's need. It was man's fault because he had been so long realizing the need. So man, in this, what he's saying, man took so long into realizing the need because he was, the man and woman is, they're trying to look by sight. They took so long to materialize it. Now Holliwell says, where there is no demand, there will be no evidence of supply. Our parents who had a horse and buggy consciousness could not attract a new mode of travel until they were able to enlarge their minds to conceive the necessity of the automobile. Now he's giving like really kind of very, very basic examples, but I love how he's kind of, that's why I'm giving these examples, because I love how he's kind of wrapping these examples into the law of supply. I'm going to read this one more time in yellow. Where there is no demand, there will be no evidence of supply. Our parents who had a horse and buggy consciousness, listen to this. You can apply this to anything in your life. Our parents who had a horse and buggy consciousness could not attract a new mode of travel until they were able to enlarge their minds to conceive the necessity of the automobile. And look at it to your day, in your daily life. Kind of what I said there, kind of think about it for a moment here. Is lots of times I do videos, if I talk about money, and anytime, anyone talks about money, maybe they're talking personally to you, maybe it's more money than you make. I mean, right away when people talk about money, a lot of people will get like a knot in their stomach, especially it's more money than what they make, or, they can't really perceive in their mind how they can make that much money, no matter if it's $100,000 a year, $200,000 a year, $500,000 a year, or no matter we're talking about millions of dollars. Like, lots of times what happens, your or people's consciousness around money, you could be at a $50,000 salary a year consciousness, so you can't really conceive a $100,000 salary. Okay, until you kind of slowly kind of get up there, you slowly start believing that you deserve. You slowly start believing that I can have this $100,000 salary. I can have this $100,000 life that other people have as well. I can have it, but it really comes down to your belief. It really comes down to your consciousness. You're stuck in that kind of that poverty consciousness. The secret of the law lies in one's consciousness. A man's life consists not in the abundance of the things he possesses, but in the consciousness of that which he has. Man possesses the whole world and all its wealth, yet is only able to enjoy what his consciousness permits him to discern. I mean, okay, this is so powerful right here. And then he goes into another example in purple. I'll read it one more time to you, but it's really powerful. I really want you to listen to this. The secret of the law lies in one's consciousness. Okay, it's lies in our consciousness, lies in our beliefs. A man's life consists in the abundance of the things he possesses, but in the consciousness of that which he has. Man possesses the whole world and all its wealth. Listen, man possesses the whole world and all its wealth. You possess the whole world and all its wealth. Why? Because abundance is within inside you. Abundance is for all. And with the law of supply, abundance, there's plenty of abundance. There's plenty of supply. Yet, okay, listen to this. Yet, you are only able to enjoy it what your consciousness permits you to discern. Okay, I'm kind of mixing up the words here a little bit, kind of putting it on you, but you're only able to enjoy what you really believe, what's in your consciousness. So you're only able to enjoy that. So let's say again, you make 50 grand a year, you're only able to enjoy that 50,000 a year lifestyle. You can't enjoy that $100,000 a year lifestyle because your consciousness is stuck back in this 50,000 a year lifestyle. So even though the abundance is for you, you can have it just as easily, but you can't enjoy it because you're stuck in that level of consciousness. So let's go on to his example here. Somewhere I read a story of a man, not a band, who lived outside of Pittsburgh and operated a small farm and dairy. Day in and day out, he worked laboriously to earn a meager living for himself and his family. And this is a great story. I remember it. One day, several men who had been surveying some adjacent land walked across his pasture land when they were crossing a stream of water that ran through the field. So that they're on his property, so they're kind of crossing a stream, not really a river, kind of a stream that kind of went down through his property. So they're crossing that stream. The farmers noticed them stopping, stooping down, and studying the slime and scum that had collected against the crude footbridge he had laid there. One man had scooped up some water in his hand and apparently drank it. Another collected some water in a canteen he carried attached to a buckle on his belt. The farmer was puzzled and wondered why anyone should be interested in that stuff. Even the cattle had no taste for it, for they pushed the scum aside to drink the clear water. So he had cattle, he had a farm, so even his farm animals that went down to the stream wouldn't drink the water. They were basically there was like scum on top of the water, so they basically kind of move it aside to actually drink the water. So the man's kind of basically confused, like why is they down there like studying the water? Some weeks later, a man called and offered him a fabulous price for the farm. Why? The man must be crazy, he thought. He could never get his investment back by farming that ground. He had not tried it for years. He was joyful at his prospects of getting such value and readily sold the farm. So here's the men. Okay, the men's going down the stream. They're studying the water. They collected some water, probably to take back and test it. Okay, then they called the man and offered him more money than what the man thought his land was worth. Okay, so it was a great price for the farmer. So he sold the farm to them. He moved to Canada to be near his brother and bought another farm. It wasn't long, however, until some queer contraptions were set up on the farm, and the word spread like wildfire that they had found oil. So listen to this. The man had this farm, and he had this stream, and the man's living like kind of like on an oil field of the stream, and he didn't know it. So that's what the men were kind of studying when they kind of just happened to walk across the stream, that they found oil on his land. So that's why they bought the land from him. So where did I leave off here? I'm right here. In a few years at the farm of less than 100 acres produced millions of dollars in oil for its owners. The farmer remained poor and worked hard because he knew only how to scratch the surface and tend the soil. Nature had supplied an abundance for the man, but he could not realize only a scanty portion. He could only see the farm only as the anchors and the stones and the dirt. And before I go off in the green here, because he really says something fantastic, I love what he says here. Make sure it's on green. Is right here. The farmer remained poor and worked hard because he knew only how to scratch the surface and tend the soil. Now, I believe that Holliwell, he's kind of talking indirectly here. He's using this example, but think about it in this way. Think about our deep-rooted beliefs. Okay, we got really deep-rooted beliefs, and we have surface beliefs. We want to believe in manifesting. We want to believe in a law of assumption. We really want to believe that abundance is our birthright. But that's kind of on a conscious level. Our deep-rooted beliefs don't believe it. So what he's saying here is kind of like indirectly is that we got to go deep. You got to go deep into changing your root beliefs. Okay, that's really controlling you. It's really controlling your lifestyle. And that's kind of the metaphor here, is that the farmer remained poor and worked hard because he knew only how to scratch the surface and tend the soil. Like when we live our lives on the surface level. We live our lives on what we see. We don't live our lives on what we truly believe, and we don't dig deep enough to really change our core beliefs. That's really holding us back. The law is not at fault because man was poor. Listen to this. The law is not at fault because the man was poor and had to work so hard to earn a living. Man will ever be poor as long as he demands of a life a meager living and sees in it a struggle, toil, hardship, and limitation. See, that's how the man's mind was. He only saw that he had to work hard. Why? But that's probably came from his parents, the generation before. He saw his parents, and he grew up. He saw his parents work really hard. So when he grew up, he had to work really hard. So he saw life as life was a struggle. I had to work hard. There's hardship, there's limitation. Abundance isn't for me, and that's what he's attracting. A like attracts like. That's what the subconscious mind is going to give him. He's going to give him more struggle, toil, hardship, and limitation. Because it's like the law, subconscious mind, the law doesn't play favorites. Okay, not like when we go to school and the teachers have their favorites. You know what I mean? When we grow up and we get a job, our bosses have its favorites. You know what I mean? It's the same cycle. Okay, the law. Okay, how the law works. Okay, all the laws of the universe and the law of supply, it doesn't play favorites. It only plays to who understands the law for the good. And people who don't understand the law still works. They're just going to go in the opposite way. The thing we dare not do is to fret and worry about supply. Listen to this. This is great. The thing we dare not do is to fret and worry about supply. Okay, we worry about how our money is going to come in. We worry about abundance. We worry about our next payday. We worry about paying our bills. Or about where our next dollar is coming from. The same thing I'm talking about. Fretting and worry tend to restrict and limit the supply at hand. They tend to close off the outflow of substance. Listen to this. This is why it's so powerful. I'll read this one more time because I only read a couple sentences here. The thing we dare not do is to fret and worry about supply and about where our next dollar is coming from. Fretting and worrying tend to restrict and limit supply at hand. They tend to close off the outflow of substance, whether the flow is small or large. It restricts it. It cuts it off. Instead of lifting us out of limitation, instead of improving our conditions or increasing our supply, they drag us deeper into the throes of doubt and fear. Instead of expecting more to follow, we grow tense and anxious, which increases our fear and brings us less and less. So powerful. I'm just going to highlight this, but this is where I left off, so I don't have to go through it. I'm going to reread this. Instead of lifting us out of limitation, instead of improving our conditions or increasing our supply, they drag us deeper into the throes of doubt and fear. Instead of expecting more to follow, we grow tense and anxious, which increases our fear and brings us less and less. And when I read this, when we start talking about worry, fret is this a really an old term? It's really an old term. But when we start talking about worry, and this really kind of, and I'll put the link down below again for the Power Wealth Classics. The Power Wealth Classics has 3 books in it. Has Think and Grow Rich, it has The Science of Getting Rich, and it has one more by Bennett Reed. And it's left my mind there for a second. I'm sorry about that, but I'll leave the book down below. But it comes with 3 books, and this is something that Napoleon Hill has stated in Think and Grow Rich is the kind of the strong thing with doubt and worry. So when we worry, okay, the scary thing about worry, we start fretting, we start worrying about abundance, where money's coming from. Worry leads to doubt, and doubt leads to fear. And once we're scared, once we have fear is crippling. Fear is where everything starts falling apart. And this is kind of indirectly what Holliwell is saying is how worry and doubt, then it leads to fear, and all the abundance that you want to attract it just starts getting less and less and less and less and less because you're worrying about it. You bring in so much energy and emotion to your worry, and the subconscious mind is just bringing you what you're worrying about. Instead of tightening up on your thinking, we must relax and be more expanding. Listen to this. Instead of tightening up on your thinking, we must relax. Remember, in a relaxed state, when we're super relaxed, that's when abundance comes to us. That's what we want comes to us, when we're super relaxed. And be more expanding. We must educate our minds to be a larger state of thinking. When we can think and realize more abundance, we shall receive more abundantly. This does not mean that the engineer is destined to be rich while the farmer remains poor. There are poor engineers and rich farmers. It is not the vocation, it's not the job that you have, the career that you have, that's what he means, that determines riches, but the demands we make on our vocations that determine our riches. As we are able to think and realize more abundance out of what we already have, we shall not only expand our thinking, but we receive more abundantly. This is the basic principle of the law. I'm gonna read that. I'm gonna read from instead to this basic principle of the law one more time, really quick. But this is so powerful. He's really digging deep in here. Okay, so basically what he's talking about, instead of what most of us do when things aren't going our way, we're paying bills. Maybe we set an intention, we want more money, it's not happening. For whatever the reason, we start worrying. Worry leads to doubt. Doubt leads to fear, and fear is crippling. Okay, when we start worrying, we put so much emotion When we worry, when you really think back in times that you're really worried about something, okay, you're going to agree that you're bringing so much emotion to it. You bring so much emotion to it, what you're worrying about. You go inside naturally. You're not thinking about doing it. You're doing it so natural. You go inside your imagination, and you're thinking about the whole movie scene that what you're worried about. Maybe you're playing a negative scene in your mind, how it's going to work out. That's what we're really doing when we start worrying. Then we start doubting the whole process. When the worry and plus doubt, that equals fear. Now we get flipping scared. And once we're scared, things start kind of falling apart. We start going downhill from there. Abundance starts kind of staying away from us. Okay, no matter what we want, starts staying away from us because we're bringing so much emotion to our worried state. And remember, what we bring emotion to, the subconscious mind doesn't play favorites. What we bring emotion to is what the subconscious mind is going to think, well, that's what Chad wants. Chad wants more of this. And it brings me more of what I don't want because I'm bringing so much emotion to it. So instead of tightening up on our thinking, we must relax. We must get in a relaxed state and be more expanding. We must educate our minds to be a larger state of thinking. When we can think and realize more abundance, we shall receive more abundance. This does not mean that the engineer is destined to be rich while the farmer remains poor. There are poor engineers and rich farmers. It is not the vocation that determines riches. So it is not the career that you're in. But the demands we make on our vocations, the demands we make on our career that determines our riches. As we are able to think and realize more abundance out of what we already have, we shall not only expand our thinking, but receive more abundantly. This is the basic principle of the law. The magnet was not charged of itself, but had to be charged with an electric energy by one who understood the operation. A magnet in the hands of an untrained man would be little changed, but in the care of a trained engineer, it could become a strong force of attraction and do great good. Likewise, listen to this. Right here, likewise, the mind magnet, he's basically doing that metaphor. He gave you an example of a magnet. Okay, when the magnet's in the wrong hands, it doesn't do anything. It might even do destruction. But the magnet in the proper hands of a trained person, it can bring positive change to everything. Okay, now he's taking the magnet, he's using that metaphor, the mind, our mind is a magnet, our thoughts is a magnet. Likewise, the mind magnet of a person can be stimulated to a strong force of attraction. It is possible to get help from one who already has a full understanding of the law and give him a good start. Of course, the mind magnet can be charged with constructive thoughts, but it will take some time for these to be effective. And the student who lacks perseverance may too readily become discouraged before the work is accomplished. I'll highlight this word, perseverance. He's talking about persistence, staying persistent with it. And I'm going to reread this to you. May too readily become discouraged before the work is accomplished. I always advocate that it is better to get a good start when possible by getting help rather than to come over the slower and more tedious path of self-education. Then the student, knowingly that the law does work, will be able to make rapid progress in his development and practice. Now here towards the end, Holliwell is really talking about finding a good coach and mentor. Somebody who understands the law, somebody who really understands manifestation, law of attraction, law of assumption, the Neville-Goddard technique. So somebody who's kind of more ahead of you that can really help you kind of speed up your progress rather than you kind of doing it all by yourself. Because if you're doing it all by yourself, lots of times with people, they don't persevere, they don't persist in it. They do it for a few days or a week, they're not getting the results, and they think it doesn't work, and they go right back to their lifestyle. So I'll read this from here likewise one more time because it's really so powerful. We really want this stuff to sink into you. Likewise, the mind magnet of a person, our mind is a magnet, can be stimulated to a strong force of attraction. It is possible to get help from one who already has a full understanding of the law and give him a good start, like Holliwell, for example. Of course, the mind magnet can be charged with constructive thoughts, but it will take some time for these to be effective. And the student who lacks perseverance, the students who lacks being consistent and persistent, may too readily become discouraged before the work is accomplished. I always advocate that it is better to get a good start when possible by getting help, by getting a mentor, by getting a coach, rather than to come over the slower and more tedious path of self-education. Then the student, knowingly that the law does work, will be able to make rapid progress in its development and practice. So at the very end, when he's saying this right here, that the student, knowingly that the law does work, will make rapid progress in development and practice. The reason why this happens is because, okay, once you work with someone that is farther ahead than you, they know how the law works, they can help you out, you tend to believe it sooner. And that's what he's saying. Like, once you see with your own eyes that the law does work, once you see it works, okay, you start really believing it because you see that it works, and you're able to make rapid progress. You're able to make faster progress than somebody else who really tries to go off on their own and try to figure out on their own. All the poverty in the world arises from a poverty consciousness, whether it be collective or individual. Why do millions suffer lack and millions more die yearly in India from starvation? I am told that many of them have never in a whole lifetime enjoyed a full meal. Surely it is not because nature has underestimated the need for so great a people. Surely it is not because there is not enough food to go around. It is because the vision of the people has been limited to such poverty. So he's really talking about poverty consciousness. And he's talking about we can have it as an individual and we can have it as a collective. And as a collective, this is where the example came from, is using like a third world country in poverty and starvation. It's really the collective. It's really their vision of poverty, why they can't get out of poverty. And this is something I kind of brought up just like now today, that that I live in Thailand, and Thailand, there's a lot of Thailand that's in poverty, or if you talk to a lot of locals, a lot of them are struggling, or a lot of the normal wages is only from like 10,000 to 15,000 baht per month. And so a lot of them have a poverty consciousness, how they live their life. And you can see when you hang out with them, you can see how they carry themselves. You can see it more and more like in their speech and how they talk, or they're constantly talking about how expensive things are. And it's a collective. That's what he's talking about. It's abundance is for everybody, and that's what you have to get in your mind. Abundance is for everybody, so it can affect you as an individual, like you and me, and it can affect a whole group of people, a whole country, okay? Or sometimes certain countries are kind of basically oppressed to think abundance isn't for you. Ask the farmer about his crops. He will tell you his problem is not scarcity, but oversupply. Ask the miner, no matter whether he mines for gold, silver, diamonds, coal, or iron, he will tell you that the supply is far greater than the demand. The law of supply is here. Law of supply is far greater than its demand. Abundance is all around us. That's what he's talking about. Ask the scientist, and he will tell you there is food aplenty. There is more food in the air, yet undiscovered, than we can use. There is more power in a single drop of water or in a lump of sugar than a man can realize at this moment. The supply is greater than the demand, and the demand is determined by man's own thinking. So when he's talking about the supply is greater, abundance is greater than the demand. The abundance is greater than all the jobs and careers out there. The abundance is oversupplying. So that's what he means. The supply is greater than the demand. So we don't have to worry about that. We missed our chance for abundance, because abundance is always there. The supply is always there. There's an oversupply of abundance. But the only thing that restricts it is our own thinking. The proposition with most of us is that our power of attraction is too weak to meet the demands. Our mind is like a magnet which draws into itself its own like, type, and kind. A magnet can draw to itself in a proportion to its power of magnetism that is generated or collected within itself. Our mental magnet is greatly reduced in strength by our worries and fears. Now remember, he's kind of going back to, almost a page ago. Our mental magnet is greatly reduced by our worries and fears. Why? Because once we worry about something, once we fear something, we have such a deep-rooted belief. When we put so much emotion to it, that's why our worries and fears have so much power, and it takes away that attraction. Our mental magnet is greatly reduced in strength by our worries and fears, and our inflow of good is slowly closed off. If our mental force becomes too weakened, it may even repel what little good that is trying to reach us. As we can charge a magnet with electric energy to build up its power of magnetism, so can our mind be charged with a mental energy that builds up a power of attraction. Like nature, we must follow a natural law. Nature never builds downhill, always up. To receive prosperity, we, like nature, cannot perform magic or miracles. We cannot make health or happiness or dollars out of nothing. Nature shows us how we can convert much or little of the available substance into a usable material. The available substance is our thought, and we charge our minds with constructive thoughts. So this is how we charge our minds. This is how we kind of charge our minds with, like a magnet, like a mental force. And we charge our minds with constructive thoughts. We charge our minds mainly with positive thinking. We charge our minds with our new belief system that abundance is yours. That's how we charge our minds. Okay. Now, have you ever, I'm going to highlight right here so I remember where I'm at, but have you ever done this? Maybe you did a meditation walk. Maybe you just got yourself really relaxed. Maybe it happened to you naturally. Maybe you did it on purpose, where you did some type of manifesting exercise. But have you ever, sometimes when I'm taking a meditation walk, I just walk outside. I start kind of thinking about what I want. I start thinking about the abundance. And for like 45 minutes on my walk, I'm thinking like this. I don't sway from the thoughts. And at the end of my walk, I feel, it's weird, I feel so, in my mind, I feel so charged. I feel so almost like a higher consciousness in that moment. Like a mind feels so charged with positivity. Like it almost feels like it almost feels like I'm a magnet, or I'm kind of vibrating a little bit. Like I'm not physically vibrating while I'm shaking, but it feels like I'm vibrating. I mean, have you ever have that happen to you? But it's coming from this state. Is because we're either relaxed in a meditation, or we're just relaxing, thinking, but we start thinking constructively. We start thinking very positive. We start thinking about what we want, what we like, and we do this for either many minutes or a half hour. We really get into it. Naturally, we just kind of fall into it. But afterwards, we can kind of feel the energy around us where it's going to start attracting what we're thinking. Like constructive, let me see. There I'm at. Like nature, to accomplish good, our thoughts must always be building upward. So our thoughts, he's kind of looking at it going, nature never builds uphill, never builds downhill. Same with our mind. We're always going up. We're going up in positivity. We're going up in constructive thoughts. We're not going down. That's what he's talking about. Like nature, to accomplish good, our thoughts must always be building upward. Must be constructive. If, for example, a drone bee in a hive has decided to lay down on its brothers and only do half the job, does Mother Nature agree and find a part-time work for that special bee? She does not. She impresses the other bees who are working hard to collect the honey and fill the hive. to send their soldiers after the drone, it is politely marched outside and stung to death. Nature destroys a lazy bee. If thoughts enter our minds that are not full strength, are not wholly positive like nature, we must comply with the law and destroy them. We dare not entertain a half-truth or a lazy thought without weakening our power of attraction and reception. So once we start entertaining negative thoughts, we start entertaining maybe half-truths or half-beliefs, it weakens our power of attraction. It weakens our mind magnet. And that's what he's kind of talking about here. Right here is an excellent place for us to begin with an inventory. We law should sieve our thoughts carefully to separate the strong thoughts from the drone thoughts. The drones must be cast out and destroyed by refusal to accept them any longer. Then we must carefully guard every thought so that another weak one cannot unconsciously or consciously slip through the play destruction with others that are trying to be good. Then he goes on to an example, and this example connects to what we're just talking about. A man came to me one day late in the fall and expressed his fears pertaining to his job. He had been employed for many years in a hotel that for the first time he had felt the effects of a dull season. It was rumored, he said, that the management was going to close down the house and let out the employees until spring. So basically they're going to do a massive layoff. He said, I feel these folks know there will be a shutdown. They are in the office of the manager. What do you think I can do about it? There is only one thing you can do, I answered. Go back to work and realize the law. If the law determines your supply and position, then no one but the law can change it for you. If you realize this and keep it constantly in your mind, I shall help you keep the law at work. If the law has another position for you, there will be a door open before this one can close. Go back to work and ignore the rumors. So this is Holliwell's advice to him, because technically, I put that right there to kind of know my spot. Technically, it looks like they're going to do a massive layoff until spring. So it looks like they're kind of going to lay off through the winter months and then come back in the spring. And he's worried. Everybody's going to the manager's office. They don't know if they're all going to be laid off. What's going to go on? So he doesn't want to get laid off, of course. And so he's worried about it. So Holliwell tells them, go back to work and ignore the rumors. Let the others fear and fret, but don't let yourself come under their thought. Listen to this. While others are becoming worried and fretting and doubting and getting fear because they're going to lose their job and be laid off, don't you let it affect you. That's what he's saying. Don't you let their thoughts affect you. You just you just go back to work and you ignore the rumors. You ignore everything. Then he says, to prove your faith or confidence in the law, prepare to enter another year's business on your books. Get ready to carry on and expect your work to increase and improve. So here he's kind of teaching almost a Navigato technique. Remember, all the old school prosperity teachers, they taught really the same thing. They just explained it differently. He said, let others fear and fret, but don't let yourself come under their thought. To prove your faith or confidence in the law, prepare to enter another year's business. So that's what he's saying. He's going in there with a belief. He's not giving no thought, no energy. He's not reacting to it. Okay, he's totally just ignoring it, that they're going to do a shutdown. He's going to work thinking in his imagination, thinking, hey, he's already thinking about next year, about how work's going to be, business on the books and stuff like that. He's already thinking the next year. He's not entertaining the layoff at all in his mind. He's not giving up one source of energy. So one more time. He says, let others fear and fret, but don't let yourself come under their thought. To prove your faith or confidence in the law, prepare to enter another year's business on the books. Get ready to carry on and expect your work to increase and improve. He went back and did as he was told. When rumors grew to realities, he held firmly to his thoughts of increased work and business. Thus, he was retained during the slack times. So the company kept him during the slack times, during the layoff. He was kept in the office to handle the business, and because of his increased work and responsibility placed upon him, he was given an increase in salary. So listen to this. They're doing a layoff, and everybody's kind of fretting and worrying and doubting and fearing, but yet he ended up getting more work and increased salary during a layoff time. If he had been allowed to entertain the fears and thoughts of loss and lack, he would have suffered with the rest who was laid off. This is according to law. The law is no respecter of persons. See, what he's saying, the law is no respecter of persons. The law plays no favorites. It's just giving you where your mind goes, where your thoughts goes. It's just as is. If he allowed his thoughts for good to become adulterated with thoughts of lack, he would have weakened his mental magnet. He could have not have attracted any more than his mind was able to receive. It matters not how much we pray or how loud we pray. Our prayers can only be answered as we work the law. The law will serve us in proportion to how well we serve it. Robert Collier, in one of his books, tells of an incident that happened in Chicago. A young man, while in the elevator of a large business house, was asked the question, "What is your religion?" He promptly answered, to the surprise of others, that his religion was Sears, Roebuck and Company. That young man is one of the executives of the same company today. Why? He touched the law of supply, and that he thought solely in terms of his interest. His firm's success was his success. See, that's the law working. That's the law of supply. That where he worked, your work success is your success. His concerted interest enabled him to become part of the firm. Today, he has a tufted seat, a handsome office, and a fine salary. If your need to supply, then your religion is the same. Like the young man, your single thought must be abundance. As abundance and supply are one, then to use the law, you must think supply, talk supply, and live supply with every thought. Keep your thoughts so occupied with ideas of plenty that any and all of the drone thoughts or lack of or loss will be destroyed. This is why I like this. This is really why I like this example here. Because a lot of his examples are kind of okay, but in this chapter anyway, at the very end of the example, he really ties it together and says something very excellent. And he ties this together and he says, as abundance and supply are one, the law of supply and abundance are one, then to use the law, you must think supply, talk supply, and live supply. You must think abundance, talk abundance, and live abundance. Put different words in there. Okay? And you must think it, you must talk it, you must live it. So basically what happens, like when manifesting is not working for us, when law of attraction, anything not working for us, lots of times we've gotten into bad habits, really bad habits, is we might think supply, we might think abundance, we might think positive, but the issue is we don't talk it. And this is something we've learned. I don't know why we've learned this, especially as an adult. Kids they always think about what they want to do, they talk about what they like, and they live it. Kids just do it naturally. Kids end up living the law naturally. Then, parents and really the school system kind of, beat it out of the kids. Then as an adult, what we end up learning is it's not acceptable to talk about abundance, to talk about what you like, to talk about what you're doing, to talk about what you want. It's not acceptable to do that. When we go to work, we've all done it. We've all talked to the wrong people. We've all started talking about what we like. Then the other person is kind of like, you can tell they're not into it. The only thing they're into, if we talk negative, then people all around us listening to our negative story. But if we talk about abundance, what we like, what we enjoy, what we're doing, then everybody just kind of stays away from us, or at least the wrong people stay away from us. And that's what we have to understand, is that, if you can't talk about abundance, you can't talk about what you like, you enjoy, then you're hanging around the wrong people. That's really what it is. You're hanging around the wrong people. This is where the rubber meets the road here. Okay, we must think supply. We must think abundance. We must talk supply. We must talk abundance. We must live supply. We must live abundance with every thought. Keep your thoughts so occupied with ideas of plenty. So keep your thoughts so occupied with ideas of plenty. That's why I'm saying we constantly think about what we want, what we like, what we enjoy. That any or all drone thoughts or any negative thoughts, what he's talking about, he's using the drone thoughts, but any negative thoughts of lack or loss will be destroyed. But you're spending all your energy constantly thinking about what you like, what you would like to do, your hobbies, abundance. You're thinking all of this. You have little room to really focus on what you don't like. Remember, not to confuse money with supply. Money is but of one of the numerous means of supply. Money is not the root of evil, but the love of money is. If you concentrate upon money alone, you use every means to gather it and hoard it. You are forcing the law to close out the good. If you concentrate on part and not the whole, you get only a small part. If you concentrate on the whole, you enjoy all its parts. If you love money, use the law solely to amass riches, you may gain riches, but you will also lose so much more that your life will be quite empty and lonely. So here he's kind of, really kind of dissecting money now. He's dissecting that not to confuse money with supply. Like money is not the root of evil, but love of money is. And how he's saying love of money is usually the love of money, even if you're rich, but if you hoard it, if you hoard money, you're not really living an abundant life. And even if you have a family, your family isn't really living an abundant life because you're hoarding money. So even if you're a hoarder, you're not really living abundance. You're really living a poverty life, and all the people around you isn't living an abundant life. You're not living by the law. I knew a man who determined early in his life to concentrate on accumulating money. He attained his ambition and became an influential power in his town. He confided in a friend before he died, saying, "I did everything I knew to become rich. I gained riches, but I lost the love and companionship of my wife and the joy of being a father to our children. I lost my health, and I'm spending my wealth to regain my health, but somehow it doesn't respond. Yes, I learned how to get rich, but I never learned how to live." And this is very, very powerful right here. And this is kind of exactly what I said. Well, it's green, but exactly kind of the example I said, but he said it in a different way. And I kind of liked how he said it, is because money is not evil, but it's the love of money. It's hoarding it. You're rich, you're powerful, you have all the money, but you hoard it. You don't share it. You don't live an abundance life. Or you're destroying relationships all around you. You're destroying your family all around you. That's not success. That's living against the law. And this is what Holliwell is saying. He said again, he confided in a friend before he died, saying, "I did everything I knew to become rich. I gained riches, but I lost the love and companionship of my wife and the joy of being a father to our children." So he was never really around. "I lost my health and spending my wealth to regain my health, but somehow it doesn't respond. Yes, I learned how to get rich, but I never learned how to live." If we love the law, use the law to gain supply and use it wisely. We will satisfy every desire. We will learn how to live wholesomely, freely, and wisely, and there will be no losses. Our lives will be as complete as God, the law, designed them to be. There may be many of you who are trying to follow the truth ideas and who have earnestly affirmed the thought statements for supply, but somehow it has only come in small amounts or not at all. This may be largely due to the fact that your senses are not yet strong for your mind to control. You must see first before you can believe. That is, you are so used to seeing just so much supply or money that in spite of your statements, you believe more in what you see than what you are trying to think. To you, it is necessary first to train your senses to come under the control of your thoughts, which you will know you must think to conform the law. Florence Shen, who gives a clear example in her book, The Game of Life. And this is a great book. I read it. It's a game of life and how to play it. And it's written by Florence Shen. So he says Florence Shen gives a clear example of this in her book, The Game of Life. She tells of a man who was seeking a new position and having a limited amount of money, was debating in his mind whether to buy a new coat or to hold tight to the money in case he was long in getting employment. So he was unemployed. So he goes to Florence Shen for advice of what should he do. He's unemployed. He has a very, very limited money, very limited budget, and because he doesn't know how long he's going to be unemployed. He was advised by Florence to buy the coat, and it was an expensive fur coat. This reduced his bank account considerably, but it increased his confidence and stimulated his faith, stimulated his belief to such a degree that his prospective employer caught the spirit of it and gave him a splendid job. So basically, he went to Florence saying he's unemployed and he's going through the interview process and he wants to buy this coat, but he doesn't really know. He has fear to buy this coat because this coat is probably a suit jacket, something like that really went along with his dress for his interview. And should he buy it? Shouldn't he? He was scared to buy it because he's thinking, well, I only have a limited budget. I only have a limited savings because I'm unemployed and I don't know how long I'm going to be unemployed. It could be weeks, it could be months. So he was kind of scared. But Florence Shen said, go buy the coat. Okay, go buy it. Even if it reduced his bank account. Go buy, even if it took up most of his money. She said, go buy it. Because she knew that it would stimulate his confidence. It would create more belief in him. It would lift him more into prosperity. And then, but actually what happened when he went to the interview, he actually got the job. Because the employer caught the spirit of it. And what he means, he caught the confidence of him. Because it lifted him up to prosperity. And they cover it right here, kind of what I said. The coat served to enable him to feel prosperous and to venture strength, and the venture strengthened his courage and confidence. So the law proceeded to satisfy the demand. If such a condition arises wherein one feels better for seeing some evidence of prosperity, then it is wise to do that which makes it easier for the person to draw prosperity to him. Certainly, it is not helpful to work for prosperity and see a stack of bills before you or a condition of limitation and a squalor around you. It is better to come away from such a sight and go where the view is more in keeping with the desire of the mind. When I desire to work for prosperity for myself or others, I try to stay in an environment where there is plenty and beauty, where the people around me are not in limited straits. It follows, therefore, that you can steadily draw into your life any and every form of good you may truly desire, as it is the will of God that you should enjoy every good that will promote happiness and progress. All desire is an expression of the will, while to expect good is to demand good, so that both are necessary to attract supply. Therefore, seek to adjust your desire with God's plan, the law, and expect that every good and only good can reach you. Then nothing but good can come. I love this right here. Listen to this. Listen to it deeply. Therefore, seek to adjust your desire with God's plan, the law, and expect that every good and only good can reach you, then nothing but good can come. So if you're thinking in your mind, your belief, and you really think and you really believe and you really expect, okay, you believe, you expect, you demand that every good and only good can reach you, then nothing but good can come to you. An abundance of all needed good is a natural heritage of every man, woman, and child. That is our vital truth. It is wrong for one to dwell in poverty when there is plenty for all. It is wrong for one member of the human family to accumulate vast wealth at the expense of his fellow man. Wrong for one to dwell in conditions of war and chaos when peace may prevail. Wrong for the strong to take advantage of the weak. Wrong to lack in good of any kind that may be essential to promote the welfare and happiness of the individual. So whatever falls short of giving satisfaction, harmony, growth, and increase is abnormal. Nature originally intended that the real needs of man should be adequately supplied, not his surface ones, which are often impulses, but the normal specific needs of the individual, which may be abundantly satisfied, were man to live in closer to harmony and the fundamental law of supply. And it kind of brought up a very unique when it says the surface ones here. The law of supply, abundance is going deep into what you really want. That's where abundance, what you really want your life to be. That's what abundance, that's what the law wants to give you. Not just your surface wants, not just you just getting by with life, paying your bills, living month to month, week by week. That's not what the law what the law stands for. That's not what the abundance is your birthright stands for. It wants to go deeper inside you and give you what your deeper wants, your deeper desires. That's what it wants to give you. Nature is prolific, producer of blessings which she gives freely to mankind, ever producing all things for a good and useful purpose. Every individual, therefore, has a natural right to a full supply of every good that he can use and enjoy. Owing, however, to the artificial means man has been taught to use and to depend upon for his supply, he has lost sight of the basic truth upon which this lesson is based. At the outset, let us realize that the material world in which we live is a sphere of effects, that behind these effects is a world of causes. Then recognize that when you may desire any particular effect, it is because that specific good is already in existence in the sphere of causes. Then recognize that when you desire any particular effect, this desire is an appearance of an underlying cause. Now this last paragraph, he really wraps up what the law of supply is. Okay, he really, going through this whole entire chapter, he gave many kind of really basic examples, and he tried, he did his best to use his examples and kind of sum up the examples of law of supply. But this last paragraph here, stay with me because he really wraps up what the law of supply is. This is the principle upon which our definition of the law of supply is based. And when we learn how to operate it in a proper manner, you will be able to draw into your life more and more of the good in whatever form you may need or desire. Everywhere in the world is a principle of good. We touch it in countless ways. Each thought of good is a seed for the production of good. We are entitled to all the good you can appropriate and use. And the more good you realize and enjoy, the more you live in true accord with the purpose of this ever-present spirit of goodness. Learn to understand how to tap the source of all supply, of all abundance, for there is no limit to the good that may be developed and enjoyed in life. In truth, man embodies every law of nature relating to his highest welfare and orderly growth. He is not therefore separated from any good thing he may need to enhance his happiness and or further his progress. But whether he shall lack or possess that which he needs or requires will be largely determined by the use he makes of his present endowment of intelligence and power. The more the man grows in true knowledge, and the more he uses his powers in constructive ways, the more good he will create in their circle of expression, in his own little world. But kind of walk away from this, law of supply is it's really believing that abundance is all around you. Abundance is your birthright, but it's really to the core to believe that abundance is not limited. Okay, supply is not limited. There's more supply than there is demand. There's more abundance out there than there is demand. You're not going to miss your abundance. You know what I mean? Maybe you try to buy your dream house and you missed it, you missed the opportunity or whatever happened. Well, abundance is still there. There's more abundance for you. So you're gonna get another shot at your dream house, or you're gonna get a better house that comes to you. You know what I mean? Because the law of supply is over demand. The abundance, there's way more abundance than the demand. There's way more abundance in your life than you can actually have. And that's the good news here. But we just have to believe it. That's the core principle here. We just have to believe abundance is ours. We just have to believe abundance is our birthright. And we just have to believe that there's more abundance than demand. Okay, in our life. There's more abundance than what I can do with. We have to truly believe that. Now let's kind of wrap this up. The promised land. No more shall I look to the far skies for my Father's loving aid, since here upon earth his treasure lies, and here in his kingdom laid. No more through the mist of things unknown I'll search for the promised land, for time is the footstool of his throne. I am within his hand. The wealth that is more than his finest gold is here, if I shall but ask. And wisdom unguessed and power untold are here for every task. The gates of heaven are before my eyes, their key is within hand. No more shall I look to the far skies, for here is the promised land. Alva Ramones. But anyway, blessings to you. Hang in there. Remember, abundance is yours. Abundance is your birthright. There's more abundance all around you than supply. Okay, there's more abundance that you can have in your life than what you can even deal with. So that's what we really have to believe. So when you only focus on the good, good has to come to you by law. Good has to come to you by law. That's how we're going to wrap this up, baby. Good has to come to you when you focus on good. Other than that, blessings to you. Comment below if you lasted this long, and I'll see you in chapter 4.